Feeling separation. Don't come near me. On separation. We know separation so well because we've tasted the union. The reed flute makes music because it has already experienced changing mud and rain and light into sugar cane. Longing becomes more poignant if in the distance you can tell whether your friend is going away or coming back. The pushing away pulls you in. Sometimes I forget completely what companionship is. Unconscious and insane, I spill sad energy everywhere. My story gets told in various ways: a romance, a dirty joke, a war, a vacancy. Divide up my forgetfulness to any number. It will go around. These dark suggestions that I follow, are they part of some plan? Friends, be careful. Don't come near me out of curiosity or sympathy. A man and a woman arguing. One night in the desert, a poor Bedouin woman has this to say to her husband: "Everyone is happy and prosperous except us. We have no bread. We have no spices. We have no water jug. We barely have any clothes, no blankets for the night. We fantasize that the full moon is a cake. We reach for it. We are an embarrassment even to the beggars. Everyone avoids us." Arab men are supposed to be generous warriors, but look at you, stumbling around. If some guest were to come to us, we'd steal his rags when he fell asleep. Who's your guide that leads you to this? We can't even get a handful of lentils. 10 years' worth of nothing, that's what we are. She went on and on. If God is abundant, we must be following an impostor. Who's leading us? Some fake that always says, "Tomorrow, illumination will bring you treasure. Tomorrow." As everyone knows, that never comes. Though I guess it happens very rarely sometimes that a disciple following an impostor can somehow surpass the pretender. But still I want to know what this deprivation says about us. The husband replied finally, "How long will you complain about money and our prospects for money? The torrent of our life has mostly gone by. Don't worry about transient things. Think how the animals live. The dove on the branch giving thanks. The glorious singing of the nightingale. The gnat, the elephant. Every living thing trusts in God for its nourishment. These pains that you feel are messengers. Listen to them. Turn them to sweetness. The night is almost over. You were young once and content. Now you think about money all the time. You used to be that money. You were a healthy vine. Now you're a rotten fruit. You ought to be growing sweeter and sweeter, but you've gone bad. As my wife, you should be equal to me, like a pair of boots. If one is too tight, the pair is of no use. Like two folding doors, we can't be mismatched. A lion does not mate with a wolf. So this man, who was happily poor, scolded his wife until daybreak, when she responded, "Don't talk to me about your high station. Look how you act. Spiritual arrogance is the ugliest of all things. It's like a day that's cold and snowy, and your clothes are wet too. It's too much to bear. Don't call me your mate, you fraud. You scramble after scraps of bone with the dogs. You're not as satisfied as you pretend. You are the snake and the snake charmer at the same time, but you don't know it. You're charming a snake for money, and the snake is charming you. You talk about God a lot, and you make me feel guilty by using that word. You better watch out. That word will poison you if you use it to have power over me." So the rough volume of her talking fell on the husband, and he fought back. "Woman, this poverty is my deepest joy. This bare way of life is honest and beautiful. We can hide nothing when we're like this. You say I'm really arrogant and greedy, and you say I'm a snake charmer and a snake, but those nicknames are for you. In your anger and your wantings, you see those qualities in me. I want nothing from this world. You're like a child that has turned round and round, and now you think the house is turning. It's your eyes that see wrong. Be patient, and you'll see the blessings, and the Lord's light is how we live." This argument continued throughout the day and even longer. A night full of talking that hurts. My worst held back secrets. Everything has to do with loving and not loving. This night will pass. Then we have work to do. An empty garlic. You miss the garden because you want a small fig from a random tree. You don't meet the beautiful woman. You're joking with an old crone. It makes me want to cry how she detains you, stinking-mouthed, with 100 talons, putting her head over the roof edge to call down. Tasteless fig, fold over fold, empty as dry rotten garlic. She has you tight by the belt, even though there's no flour and no milk inside her body. Death will open your eyes to what her face is. Leather spine of a black lizard, no more advice. Let yourself be silently drawn by the stronger pull of what you really love. The diver's clothes lying empty. You're sitting here with us, but you're also out walking in a field at dawn. You are yourself the animal we hunt when you come with us on the hunt. You're in your body like a plant is solid in the ground, yet you're wind. You're the driver's clothes lying empty on the beach. You're the fish. In the ocean are many bright strands, and many dark strands, like veins that are seen when a wing is lifted up. Your hidden self is blood in those veins that are lute strings that make ocean music. Not the sad edge of surf, but the sound of no shore. Red shirt. Has anyone seen the boy who used to come here? Round-faced troublemaker, quick to find a joke, slow to be serious. Red shirt, perfect coordination, sly, strong muscles, with things always in his pocket, reed flute, ivory pick, polished and ready for his talent. You know that one. Have you heard stories about him? Pharaoh and the whole Egyptian world collapsed for such a Joseph. I'd gladly spend years getting word of him, even third or fourth hand. My worst habit is I get so tired of winter I become to torture to those I'm with. If you're not here, nothing grows. I lack clarity. My words tangle and knot up. How to cure bad water? Send it back to the river. How to cure bad habits? Send me back to you. When water gets caught in habitual whirlpools, dig a way out through the bottom to the ocean. There's a secret medicine given only to those who hurt so hard they can't hope. The hopers would feel slighted if they knew. Look as long as you can at the friend you love, no matter whether that friend is moving away from you or coming back towards you. Don't let your throat tighten with fear. Take sips of breath all day and night before death closes your mouth. Dissolver of sugar. Dissolver of sugar, dissolve me. This is the time. Do it gently with a touch of a hand or a look. Every morning I wait at dawn. That's when it's happened before. Or do it suddenly like an execution. How else can I get ready for death? You breathe without a body like a spark. You grieve and I begin to feel lighter. You keep me away with your arm, but the keeping away is pulling me in. Pale sunlight, pale the wall. Love moves away, the light changes. I need more grace than I thought. Patrolling the desire body. How did you kill your rooster, Hussam? I'm the desire body. Sufis call the wantings nafs. From the urgent way lovers want each other to the sannyasins, search for truth. All moving is from the mover. Every pull draws us to the ocean. Rumi says it's important to live the wantings as they come and not get stuck somewhere stagnant. He was asked once what to do about a young man caught doing some indecent act. The story doesn't mention what exactly: masturbation, peeping Tomming, whatever wild wantings young men think to do. Rumi told him not to worry about it. It just means he's growing his feathers. The dangerous case is a kid who doesn't do indecent acts, who then leaves the nest without feathers. One flap and the cat has him. Be careful, Rumi suggests, about shaming sexual behavior in an adolescent or anyone who hasn't yet had his or her fill of erotic trancing. Often, the closest we come to surrender is orgasm. In Rumi's symbology, the rooster is a symbol for that energy. So how did Hussam kill his rooster? By dissolving into the play. The nafs are energies that keep us moving, stopping nowhere. Unicorn with the divine continually unfolds. Next to the glowing drive-in movie, the junkyard's rusted stacks of old desire bodies. Let the beauty we love keep turning into action, transmuting to another. What have I ever lost by dying? Rumi asks, exchanging one set of nafs for the next. Chopped rooster energy becomes another dining room story. Particles of praise shine in the sunlight. Anything you grab hold of on the bank breaks with the river's pressure. When you do things from your soul, the river itself moves through you. Freshness and a deep joy are signs of the current. Sexual urgency, what a woman's laughter can do, and the nature of true virility. Someone offhand to the caliph of Egypt, the king of Mosul, has a concubine like no other. More beautiful than I can describe, she looks like this. He draws her likeness on paper. The caliph drops his cup. Immediately he sends his captain to Mosul with an army of thousands. The siege goes on for a week. With many casualties, the walls and the towers unsteady, as soft as wax. The king of Mosul sends an envoy. Why this killing? If you want the city, I will leave, and you can have it. If you want more wealth, that's even easier. The captain takes out the piece of paper with the girl's picture on it. This, the strong king of Mosul, is quick to reply, lead her out. The idol belongs with the idolater. When the captain sees her, he falls in love, like the caliph. Don't laugh at this. This loving is also part of infinite love, without which the world does not evolve. Objects move from inorganic to vegetation, to selves endowed with spirit through the urgency of every love that wants to come to perfection. His captain thinks the soil looks fertile, so he sows his seed. Sleeping, he sees the girl in the dream. He makes love to her image, and his semen spurts out. After a while he begins to wake. Slowly he senses the girl is not there. I have given my seed into nothing. I shall put this tricky woman to a test. A leader who is not captain of his body is not one to be honored. With his semen spilled so in the sand, now he loses all control. He doesn't care about the caliph or about dying. I am in love, he says. Do not act in such a heat. Take counsel with a master. But the captain couldn't. His infatuation is a black water wave carrying him away. Something that doesn't exist makes a phantom appear in the darkness of a well. The phantom itself becomes strong enough to throw actual lions into the hole. More advice. It is dangerous to let other men have intimate connections with the women in your care. Cotton and fire sparks, those are together. Difficult, almost impossible to quench. The captain does not return straight to the caliph, but instead camps in a secluded meadow, blazing. He can't tell ground from sky. His reason is lost in a drumming sound. Worthless radish, and son of a radish. The caliph himself, a gnat, nothing. But just as this cultivator tears off the woman's pants and lies down between her legs, his penis moving straight to the mark, there's a great tumult, and a rising cry of soldiers outside the tent. He leaps up with his bare bottom shining and runs out, scimitar in hand. A black lion from a nearby swamp has gotten in among the horses. Chaos, the lion jumping 20 feet in the air. Tents billowing like an ocean. The captain quickly approaches the lion, splits his head with one blow, and now he is running back to the woman's tent. When he stretches out her beauty again, his penis goes even more erect. The engagement, the coming together, is as with the lion. His penis stays erect all through it, and it does not scatter semen feebly. The beautiful one is amazed at his virility. Immediately, with great energy, she joins with his energy, and their two spirits go out from them as one. Whenever two are linked this way, there comes another from the unseen world. It may be through birth, if nothing prevents conception, but a third does come, when two unite in love or in hate. The intense qualities born of such joining appear in the spiritual world. You will recognize them when you go there. Your associations bear progeny. Be careful, therefore. Wait and be conscious before you go to meet anyone. Remember, there are children to consider. Children you must live with and tend to, born of your emotions with another. Entities with a form and speech and a place to live. They are crying to you even now. You have forgotten us. Come back. Be aware of this. A man and a woman together always have a spiritual result. The captain was not so aware. He fell and struck like a gnat in a pot of buttermilk, totally absorbed in his love affair. Then, just as suddenly, he's uninterested. He tells the woman, don't say a word of this to the caliph. He takes her there, and the caliph is smitten. She's 100 times more beautiful than he's imagined. A certain man asks an eloquent teacher, what is true and what is false? This is false. A bat hides from the sun, not from the idea of the sun. It's the idea that puts fear in the bat and leads it deeper into the cave. You have an idea of an enemy that attaches you to certain companions. Moses, the inner light of revelation, lit up the top of Sinai, but the mountain could not hold that light. Don't deceive yourself that way. Having the idea is not living the reality of anything. There's no courage in the idea of battle. The bathhouse wall is covered with pictures and much talk of heroism. Try to make an idea move from ear to eye. Then your woolly ears become as subtle as fibers of light. Your whole body becomes a mirror, all eye and spiritual breathing. Let your ear lead you to your lover. So the caliph is mightily in love with this girl. His kingdom vanishes like lightning. If your loving is numb, know this: when what you own can vanish, it's only a dream of vanity. Breath through a mustache. It would have killed you. There are those that say nothing lasts. They are wrong. Every moment they say, if there were some other reality, I would have seen it. I would know about it. Because a child doesn't understand a chain of reasoning, should adults give up being rational? If reasonable people don't feel the presence of love within the universe, that doesn't mean it's not there. Joseph's brothers did not see Joseph's beauty, but Jacob never lost sight of it. Moses at first saw only a wooden staff, but to his other seeing it was a viper and a cause of panic. Eyesight is in conflict with inner not knowing. Moses' hand is a hand and a source of light. These matters are as real as the infinite is real, but they seem religious fantasies to some. To those who believe only in the reality of the sexual organs and the digestive tract. Don't mention the friend to those. To others, sex and hunger are fading images, and the friend is more constantly solidly here. Let the former go to their church, and we'll go to ours. Don't talk long to skeptics or to those who claim to be atheists. So the caliph has the idea of entering the beautiful woman, and he comes to her to do his wanting. Memory raises his penis, straightening it in thought toward the pushing down and the lifting up, which make that member grow large with delight. But as he actually lies down with the woman, there comes to him a decree from God to stop these voluptuous doings. A very tiny sound like a mouse might make. The penis droops and desire slips away. He thinks that whispering sound is a snake rising off the straw mat. The girl sees his drooping and sails into fits of laughter at the marvelous thing. She remembers the captain killing the lion with his penis standing straight up. Long and loud her laughter, anything she thinks of only increases it, like the laughter of those who eat hashish. Everything is funny. Every emotion has a source and a key that opens it. The caliph is furious. He draws his sword. What's so amusing? Tell me everything you're thinking. Don't hold anything back. At this moment, I'm clairvoyant. If you lie, I'll behead you. If you tell the truth, I'll give you your freedom. He stacks 7 Qurans on top of each other and swears to do as he says. When she finally gets hold of herself, the girl tells all in great detail. Of the camp in the meadow, the killing of the lion, the captain's return to the tent with his penis still hard as the horn of a rhino, and the contrast with the caliph's own members sinking down because of one mouse whisper. Hidden things always come to light. Do not sow bad seed. Be sure they'll come up. Rain and the sun's heat make them rise into the air. Spring comes after the fall of the leaves, which is proof enough of the fact of resurrection. Secrets come out in spring, out from earthen lips into leaf. Worries become wine headaches. But where did the wine come from? Think. A branch of blossoms does not look like seed. A man does not resemble semen. Jesus came from Gabriel's breath, but he is not in that form. The grape doesn't look like the vine. Loving actions are the seed of something completely different, a living place. No origin is like where it leads to. We can't know where our pain is from. We don't know all that we've done. Perhaps it's best that we don't. Nevertheless, we suffer for it. The caliph comes back to his clarity. In the pride of my power, I took this woman from another. So, of course, someone came to knock on my door. Whoever commits adultery is a pimp for his own wife. If you cause injury to someone, you draw that same injury towards yourself. My treachery made my friend a traitor to me. This repetition must stop somewhere. Here, in an act of mercy. I'll send you back to the captain, saying another of my wives is jealous, and since the captain was brave enough to bring you back from Mosul, he shall have you in marriage. This is the virility of a prophet. The caliph was sexually impotent, but his manliness was most powerful. The kernel of true manhood is the ability to abandon sensual indulgences. The intensity of the captain's libido is less than a husk compared to the caliph's nobility in ending the cycle of sowing lust and reaping secrecy and vengefulness. Tattooing in Qazwin. In Qazwin they have a custom of tattooing themselves for good luck, with a blue ink on the back of the hand, the shoulder, wherever. A certain man there goes to his barber and asks to be given a powerful, heroic blue lion on his shoulder blade, and do it with flair. I've got Leo ascending. I want plenty of blue. But as soon as the needle starts pricking, he howls, "What are you doing?" "The lion." "Which limb did you start with?" "I began with the tail." "Well, leave out the tail. That lion's rump is in a bad place for me. It cuts off my wind." The barber continues, and immediately the man yells out, "Oh! Which part now?" "The ear." "Doc, let's do a lion with no ears this time." The barber shakes his head, and once more the needle, and once more the wailing. "Where are you now?" "The belly." "I like a lion without a belly." The master lion maker stands for a long time with his fingers in his teeth. Finally he throws the needle down. No one has ever been asked to do such a thing, to create a lion without a tail, or a head, or a stomach. God himself could not do it. Brother, stand the pain. Escape the poison of your impulses. The sky will bow to your beauty if you do. Learn to light the candle. Rise with the sun. Turn away from the cave if you're sleeping. That way a thorn expands to a rose. A particular glows with the universal. What is it to praise? Make yourself particles. What is it to know something of God? Burn inside that presence, burn up. Copper melts in the healing elixir, so melt yourself in the mixture that sustains existence. You tighten your two hands together, determined not to give up saying I and we. This tightening blocks you. Center of the fire. No more wine for me. I'm past delighting in the thick red into the clear white. I'm thirsty for my own blood, as it moves into a field of action. Draw the keenest blade you have and strike until the head circles about the body. Make a mountain of skulls like that. Split me apart. Don't stop at the mouth. Don't listen to anything I say. I must enter the center of the fire. Fire is my child, but I must be consumed and become fire. Why is there crackling and smoke? Because the firewood and the flames are still talking. You are too dense. Go away. You are too wavering. I have solid form. In the blackness, those two friends keep arguing, like a wanderer with no face, like the most powerful bird in existence sitting on its perch, refusing to move. What can I say to someone so curled up with wanting, so constricted in this love? Break your pitcher against a rock. We don't need any longer to haul pieces of the ocean around. We must drown away from heroism and descriptions of heroism. Like a pure spirit lying down, pulling its body over it like a bride her husband for a cover to keep her warm. Someone who goes with half a loaf of bread to a small place that fits like a nest around him. Someone who wants no more, who's not himself longed for by anyone else. He is a letter to everyone. You open it, it says live. The mystery does not get clear by repeating the question, nor is it bought with going to amazing places. Till you've kept your eyes and your wanting still for 50 years, you don't begin to cross over from confusion. Muhammad and the huge eater. Hussam demands that we begin Book 5. Zia-Haq, the radiance of truth. Husamuddin, master to the pure masters. If my human throat were not so narrow, I would praise you as you should be praised. If some language other than this world language, but a domestic fowl is not a falcon, we must mix the varnish we have and brush it on. I'm not talking to materialists. When I mention Hussam, I speak only to those who know spiritual secrets. Praise is simply drawing back the curtains to let his qualities in. The sun, of course, remains apart from what I say. What the sayer of praise is really praising is himself by saying implicitly, my eyes are clear. Likewise, someone who criticizes is criticizing himself, saying implicitly, I can't see very well with my eyes so inflamed. Don't ever feel sorry for someone who wants to be the sun, that other sun, the one that makes rotten things fresh. And don't ever envy someone who wants to be this world. Husam is the sun, I mean. He can't be understood with the mind or said, but will stumble and stagger trying to. Just because you can't drink all that falls doesn't mean you've given up taking sips of rainwater. In the nut of the mystery can't be held. At least let me touch the shell. Husam, refresh my words, your words. My words are only a husk to your knowing, an earth atmosphere to your enormous spaces. What I say is meant only to point to that to you, so that whoever hears these words will not grieve that they never had a chance to look. Your presence draws me out from vanity and imagination and opinion. Awe is the salve that will heal our eyes, and keen, constant listening. Stay out in the open like a date palm, lifting its arms. Don't bore mouse holes in the ground, arguing inside some doctrinal labyrinth. That intellectual warp and woof keeps you wrapped in blindness, and 4 other characteristics keep you from loving. The Quran calls them 4 birds. Say Bismillah, in the name of God, and chop the heads off those mischief birds. The rooster of lust, the peacock of wanting to be famous, the crow of ownership, and the duck of urgency. Kill them and revive them in another form, changed and harmless. There's a duck inside you. Her bill is never still, searching through drawing what alike, like the robber in an empty house cramming objects in his sack, pearls, chickpeas, anything, always thinking, there's no time, I won't get another chance. A true person is more calm and deliberate. He or she doesn't worry about interruptions. But that duck is so afraid of missing out that it's lost all generosity, and frighteningly expanded its capacity to take in food. A large group of unbelievers once came to see Muhammad, knowing he would feed them. Muhammad told his friends, divide these guests among you and tend to them. Since you are all filled with me, it will be as though I am the host. Each friend of Muhammad chose a guest, but there was one huge person left behind. He sat in the entrance of the mosque, like thick dregs in a cup. So Muhammad invited the man to his own household, where the enormous son of a Guz Turk ate everything, the milk of 7 goats, and enough food for 15 people. The others in the house were furious. When the man went to bed, the maid slammed the door behind him and chained it shut, out of meanness and resentment. Around midnight, the man felt several strong urges at once. At the door, he works it, puts a blade through the crack, nothing. The urgency increases, the room contracts. He falls back into a confused sleep and dreams of a desolate place, since he himself is such a desolate place. So dreaming he's by himself, he squeezes out a huge amount, and another huge amount, but he soon becomes conscious enough to know that the covers he gathers around him are full of shit. He shakes with spasms of the shame that usually keeps men from doing such things. He thinks, my sleep is worse than my being awake. The waking is just full of food. My sleep is all this. Now he's crying, bitterly embarrassed, waiting for dawn and the noise of the door opening, hoping that somehow he can get out, without anyone seeing him as he is. I'll shorten it. The door opens. He's saved. Muhammad comes at dawn. He opens the door and becomes invisible so the man won't feel ashamed, so he can escape and wash himself and not have to face the door opener. Someone completely absorbed in Allah like Muhammad can do this. Muhammad had seen all that went on in the night, but he held back from letting the man out until all happened as it needed to happen. Many actions which seem cruel are from a deep friendship. Many demolitions are actually renovations. Later, a meddlesome servant brought Muhammad the bedcloths. Look what your guest has done. Muhammad smiles, himself a mercy given to all beings. Bring me a bucket of water. Everyone jumps up. No, let us do this. We live to serve you, and this is the kind of handwork we can do. Yours is the inner heart work. I know that, but this is an extraordinary occasion. A voice inside him is saying, "There is great wisdom in washing these bedcloths. Wash them." Meanwhile, the man who soiled the covers and fled is returning to Muhammad's house. He has left behind an amulet that he always carried. He enters and sees the hands of God washing his incredibly dirty linen. He forgets the amulet. A great love suddenly enters him. He tears his shirt open. He strikes his head against the wall and the door. Blood pours from his nose. People come from other parts of the house. He's shrieking, "Stay away!" He hits his head. "I have no understanding." He prostrates himself before Muhammad. "You are the whole. I am a despicable, tiny, meaningless piece. I can't look at you." He's quiet and quivering with remorse. Muhammad bends over and holds him and caresses him and opens his inner knowing. The cloud weeps, then the garden sprouts, the baby cries, and the mother's milk flows. The nurse of creation has said, "Let them cry a lot." This rain, weeping, and sun burning twine together to make us grow. Keep your intelligence white hot and your grief glistening, so your life will stay fresh. Cry easily like a little child. Let body needs dwindle and soul decisions increase. Diminish what you give your physical self. Your spiritual eye will begin to open. When the body empties and stays empty, God fills it with musk and mother of pearl. That way a man gives his dung and gets purity. Listen to the prophets, not to some adolescent boy. The foundation and the walls of the spiritual life are made of self-denials and disciplines. Stay with friends who support you in these. Talk with them about sacred texts and how you're doing and how they're doing, and keep your practices together. Fasting. There's hidden sweetness in the stomach's emptiness. We are lutes, no more, no less. If the soundbox is stuffed full of anything, no music. If the brain and the belly are burning clean with fasting, every moment a new song comes out of the fire. The fog clears, a new energy makes you run up the steps in front of you. Be emptier and cry like reed instruments cry. Emptier, write secrets with the reed pen. When you're full of food and drink, an ugly metal statue sits where your spirit should. When you fast, good habits gather like friends who want to help. Fasting is Solomon's ring. Don't give it to some illusion and lose your power. But even if you've lost all will and control, they come back when you fast, like soldiers appearing out of the ground. Pennants flying above them. A table descends to your tents. Jesus' table. Expect to see it. When you fast, this table is spread with other food, better than the broth of cabbages. Bismillah. It's a habit of yours to walk slowly. You hold a grudge for years. With such heaviness, how can you be modest? With such attachments, do you expect to arrive anywhere? Be wide as the air to learn a secret. Right now your equal portions, clay and water and thick mud. Abraham learned how the sun and moon and the stars all set. He said, "No longer will I try to assign partners for God. You are so weak. Give up to grace." The ocean takes care of each wave till it gets to shore. You need more help than you know. You're trying to live your life in open scaffolding. Say Bismillah in the name of God, as the priest does with a knife when he offers an animal. Bismillah, your old self, to find your real name. Wean yourself, little by little, wean yourself. This is the gist of what I have to say. From an embryo, whose nourishment comes in the blood, move to an infant drinking milk, to a child on solid food, to a searcher after wisdom, to a hunter of more invisible game. Think how it is to have a conversation with an embryo, you might say. The world outside is vast and intricate. There are wheat fields and mountain passes, and orchards in bloom. At night there are millions of galaxies, and in sunlight the beauty of friends dancing at a wedding. You ask the embryo why he or she stays cooped up in the dark with closed eyes. Listen to the answer. There is no other world. I only know what I've experienced. You must be hallucinating. After the meditation, now I see something in my listeners that won't let me continue this way. The ocean flows back in and puts up a foam barrier, then withdraws. After a while, it will come again. This audience wants to hear more about the visiting Sufi and his friends in meditation, but be discerning. Don't think of this as a normal character in an ordinary story. The ecstatic meditation ended. Dishes of food were brought out. The Sufi remembered his donkey that had carried him all day. He called to the servant there, "Please, go to the stable and mix the barley generously with the straw for the animal. Please, don't worry yourself with such matters. All things have been attended to. But I want to make sure that you wet the barley first. He's an old donkey and his teeth are shaky." "Why are you telling me this? I have given the appropriate orders. But don't you remove the saddle gently and put salve on the sore he has. I have served thousands of guests with these difficulties, and all have gone away satisfied. Here you are treated as family. Do not worry, enjoy yourself. But did you warm his water just a little, and then add only a bit of straw to the barley? Sir, I am ashamed for you. And please sweep the stall clean of stones and dung, and scatter a little dry earth in it. For God's sake, sir, leave my business to me. And did you curry-comb his back? He loves that. Sir, I am personally responsible for all these chores." The servant turned and left at a brisk pace to join his friends in the street. The Sufi then lay down to sleep and had terrible dreams about his donkey, how it was being torn to pieces by a wolf, or falling helplessly into a ditch. And his dreaming was right. His donkey was being totally neglected, weak and gasping, without food or water all the night long. The servant had done nothing he said he would. There are such vicious and empty flatterers in your life. Do the careful, donkey-tending work. Don't trust that to anyone else. There are hypocrites who will praise you, but who do not care about the health of your heart, donkey. Be concentrated and leonine in the hunt for what is your true nourishment. Don't be distracted by blandishment noises of any sort. The dog in the doorway. This is how it is when your animal energies, the nafs, dominate your soul. You have a piece of fine linen that you're going to make into a coat to give to a friend, but someone else uses it to make a pair of pants. The linen has no choice in the matter. It must submit. Or it's like someone breaks into your house and goes to the garden and plants thorn bushes. An ugly humiliation falls over the place. Or you've seen a nomad's dog lying at the tent entrance with his head on the threshold and his eyes closed. Children pull his tail and touch his face, but he doesn't move. He loves the children's attention and stays humble with it. But if a stranger walks by, he'll spring up ferociously. Now, what if that dog's owner were not able to control it? A poor dervish might appear. The dog storms out. The dervish says, "I take refuge with God," when the dog of arrogance attacks. The owner has to say, "So do I. I am helpless against this creature even in my own house. Just as you can't come close, I can't go out." This is how animal energy becomes monstrous and ruins your life's freshness and beauty. Think of taking this dog out to hunt. You'd be the quarry. The light you give off did not come from a pelvis. Your features did not begin in semen. Don't try to hide inside anger, radiance that cannot be hidden. Tending to shops. Don't run around this world looking for a hole to hide in. There are wild beasts in every cave. If you live with mice, the cat claws will find you. The only real rest comes when you're alone with God. Live in the nowhere that you came from, even though you have an address here. That's why you see things in two ways. Sometimes you look at a person and see a cynical snake. Someone else sees a joyful lover, and you're both right. Everyone is half and half, like the black and white ox. Joseph looked ugly to his brothers, and most handsome to his father. You have eyes that see from that nowhere, and eyes that judge distances, how high and how low. You own two shops, and you run back and forth. Try to close the one that's a fearful trap. Getting away smaller. Checkmate this way. Checkmate that. Keep open the shop, where you're not selling fish hooks anymore. You are the free swimming fish. Think that you're gliding out from the face of a cliff, like an eagle. Think you're walking like a tiger walks by himself in the forest. You're most handsome when you're after food. Spend less time with nightingales and peacocks. One is just a voice, the other just a color. Meetings on the riverbank. On Sobet. Sobet has no English equivalent. It means something like mystical conversation on mystical subjects. The voices in Rumi's poetry come from many points on the inner-outer spectrum. The outer conversations are contained within quotation marks, and the inner ones are continuous and permeate the entire fabric of his poetry. On the most ordinary level, we all sometimes hear ourselves speaking from, say, some habitual pattern of meanness or acceptable optimism. Then at other times we surprise ourselves by coming out with wisdom beyond our usual. There's a modulation between realities. This is similar to what happens when the fluid pronoun in Rumi's poetry. The you and I are sometimes the lover talking to the beloved. The personal self and a without-form presence within and beyond the senses. It's sometimes that presence amazingly speaks to Rumi through the poetry. Voices slide back and forth within the same short poem. Often the poem serves as a slippery door-sill placed between the two, partly in myself and partly outside. The voices coming from a between place, this expanding and contracting of identity is one of the exciting aspects of Rumi's art. Everything is conversation. Human beings are discourse. That flowing moves through you whether you say anything or not. Everything that happens is filled with pleasure and warmth because of the delight of the discourse that's always going on. Rumi's poetry mirrors back to us this ocean of woven speech, too intricate and dynamic for any grammarian to untangle. Talking in the night. In the middle of the night I cried out, "Who lives in this love I have?" You said, "I do, but I'm not here alone. Why are these other images with me?" I said, "They are reflections of you, just as the beautiful inhabitants of Chigil in Turkestan resemble each other." You said, "But who is this other living being?" "That is my wounded soul." Then I brought that soul to you as a prisoner. "This one is dangerous," I said. "Don't let him off easy." You winked and gave me one end of a delicate thread. "Pull it tight, but don't break it." I reached my hand to touch you. You struck it down. "Why are you so harsh with me?" "For good reason, but certainly not to keep you away. Whoever enters this place saying, 'Here I am,' must be slapped. This is not a pen for sheep. There are no separating distances here. This is love's sanctuary. Saladin is how the soul looks. Rub your eyes, and look again with love at love." Talking through the door. You said, "Who's at the door?" I said, "Your slave." You said, "What do you want, to see you and bow? How long until you wait, until you call? How long until you cook, till the resurrection?" We talked through the door. I claimed a great love, and that I had given up what the world gives to be in that love. You said, "Such claims require a witness." I said, "This longing, these tears." You said, "Discredited witness?" I said, "Surely not." You said, "What did you come with?" "The majestic imagination you gave me." "Why did you come?" "The musk of your wine was in the air." "What is your intention?" "Friendship." "What do you want from me?" "Grace." Then you asked, "Where have you been most comfortable?" "In the palace." "What did you see there?" "Amazing things." "Then why is it so desolate?" "Because all that can be taken away in a second." "Who can do that?" "This clear discernment." "Where can you live safely, then?" "In surrender." "What is this giving up?" "Peace that saves us." "Is there no threat of disaster?" "Only what comes in your street inside your love." "How do you walk there?" "In perfection." Now silence. If I told more of this conversation, those listening would leave themselves. There would be no door, no roof or window either. A mouse and a frog. A mouse and a frog meet every morning on the riverbank. They sit in a nook off the ground and talk. Each morning, the second they see each other, they open easily, telling stories and dreams and secrets, empty of any fear or suspicion holding back. To watch and listen to those two is to understand how it's written. Sometimes when two beings come together, Christ becomes visible. The mouse starts laughing out a story he hasn't thought of in 5 years, and the telling might take 5 years. There's no blocking the speech flow, river running, all carrying momentum that true intimacy is. Bitterness doesn't have a chance with those two. The God messenger, Kidr, touches a roasted fish. It leaps off the grill back into the water. Friend sits by friend, and tablets appear. They read the mysteries off each other's foreheads. But one day the mouse complains, "There are times when I want so bad, and you're out in the water, jumping around where you can't hear me. We meet at this appointed time, but the text says lovers pray constantly. Once a day, once a week, 5 times an hour is not enough. Fish like us are fish like we are need the ocean around us. Do camel bells say, 'Let's meet back there Thursday night'? Ridiculous. They jingle together continuously, while the camel walks. Do you pay regular visits to yourself? Don't argue our answer rationally. Let us die. Reply. Let us die, and dying reply. The long string. The mouse asks the beloved frog, "Do you know what you are to me? During the day, you are my energy for working. At night, you are my deepest sleep. But could we be together outside of time as well as inside? Physically, we meet only at breakfast. Your absence during the rest of the day enters all my cravings. I drink 500 times too much. I eat like a bulimic trying to die. Help me. I know I'm not worth it, but your generosity is so vast. Let your sunlight shine on this piece of dung and dry it out, so I can be useful for fuel to warm and light up a bathhouse. Look on the terrible and stupid things I've done, and cause herbs and eglantine to grow out of them. The sun does this with the ground. Think what glories God can make from the fertilizer of sinning." The mouse continues to beg, "My friend, I know I'm ugly to you. I'm ugly to me. I'm perfectly ugly. But look, you'll be sad when I die, won't you? You'll sit by my grave and weep a little. All I'm asking is, be with me that little bit of time while I'm still alive. Now, I want you now." A certain rich man was accustomed to honor a Sufi by giving him pieces of silver. "Would you like 1 piece of silver now, O Lord of my spirit, or 3 at breakfast tomorrow morning?" The Sufi answered, "I love the half a coin that I have already in my hand from yesterday more than the promise of a whole one today, or the promise of 100 tomorrow." A Sufi is the child of this movement. Back to the mouse, who says, "The slap of now has cash in its hand. Give me slaps on the neck everywhere, anywhere. Soul of my soul, of the soul of 100 universes, be water in this now river, so jasmine flowers will lift on the brim, and someone far off can notice the flower colors and know that there's water there, here. The sign is in the face. You can look at an orchard and tell if it rained last night, that freshness in the sign." Again the mouse, "Friend, I'm made from the ground, and for the ground. You're of the water. I'm always standing on the bank, calling to you. Have mercy, I can't follow you into the water. Isn't there some way we can be in touch, a messenger, some reminder?" The two friends decided the answer was a longing string, with one end tied to the mouse's foot and the other to the frog's, so that by pulling on it their secret connection might be remembered, and the two could meet as the soul does with the body. The frog-like soul often escapes from the body and soars in the happy water. Then the mouse body pulls on the string and the soul thinks, "Damn, I have to go back on the riverbank and talk with that scatterbrained mouse." You'll hear more about this when you'll really wake up on Resurrection Day. So the mouse and the frog tied the string, even though the frog had a hunch some tangling was to come. Never ignore those intuitions. When you feel some slight repugnance about doing something, listen to it. These premonitions come from God. Remember the story of the military elephant who would not move toward the Kaaba, paralyzed in that direction, yet swift if pointed toward Yemen. It had some in-knowing from the unseen. So the prophet Jacob, when his other sons wanted to take Joseph out in the country for 2 days, had a heart sickness about their going, and it was true, though divine destiny prevailed despite his foreboding, as it will. It's not always a blind man who falls in a pit. Sometimes it's one who can see. A holy one does sometimes fall, but by that tribulation he or she ascends, escapes many illusions, escapes conventional religion, escapes being so bound to phenomena. Think of how phenomena come trooping out of the desert of non-existence into this materiality. Morning and night they arrive in a long line and take over from each other. It's my turn now. Get out. The son comes of age, and the father packs up. This place of phenomena is a wide exchange of highways, with everything going all sorts of different ways. We seem to be sitting still, but we're actually moving, and the fantasies of phenomena are sliding through us like ideas through curtains. They go to the well of deep love inside each of us. They fill their jars there, and they leave. There's a source they come from, and a fountain inside here. Be generous, be grateful, confess when you're not. We can't know what the divine intelligence has in mind. Who am I, standing in the midst of this thought traffic? The force of friendship. A sea cow, a dugong, finds a special pearl and brings it up on land at night. By the light it gives off, the dugong can graze on hyacinths and lilies. The excrement of the dugong is precious ambergris, because it eats such beauty. Anyone who feeds on majesty becomes eloquent. The bee, the mystic inspiration, fills its rooms with honey. So the dugong grazes at night in the pearl glow. Presently a merchant comes and drops black loam over the pearl, then hides behind a tree to watch. The dugong surges about the meadow like a blind bull. 20 times it rushes at nothing, passing the mound where the pearl is. So Satan couldn't see the spirit center inside Adam. Good days descend, and a huge pearl from Eden gets buried under dirt. The merchant knows, but the dugong doesn't. Every clay pile with pearl inside loves to be near any other clay pile with a pearl, but those without pearls cannot stand to be near the hidden companionship. Remember the mouse on the riverbank. There's a love string stretching into the water, hoping for the frog. Suddenly a raven grips the mouse and flies off, the frog too, from the river bottom, with one foot tangled in invisible string. Follows, suspended in the air. Amazed faces ask, "When did a raven ever go under water and catch a frog?" The frog answers, "This is the force of friendship. What draws friends together does not conform to laws of nature. Form doesn't know about spiritual closeness." If a grain of barley approaches a grain of wheat, an ant must be carrying it, a black ant on black felt. You can't see it, but if grains go toward each other, it's there. A hand shifts our bird cages around. Some are brought closer, some move apart. Do not try to reason it out. Be conscious of who draws you and who not. Gabriel was always there with Jesus, lifting him above the dark blue vault, the night fortress world, just as the raven of longing carries the flying frog. The vigil. Don't go to sleep one night. What you must want will come to you then. Warmed by a sun inside, you'll see wonders. Tonight, don't put your head down. Be tough, and strength will come. That which adoration adores appears at night. Those asleep may miss it. One night Moses stayed awake and saw a light in a tree. Then he walked at night for 10 years until finally he saw the whole tree illuminated. Muhammad rode his horse through the night sky. The day is for work, the night for love. Don't let someone bewitch you. Some people sleep at night. But not lovers. They sit in the dark and talk to God, who told David, "Those who sleep all night, every night, and claim to be connected to us, they lie." Lovers can't sleep when they feel the privacy of the beloved all around them. Someone who's thirsty may sleep for a little while, but he or she will dream of water, a full jar beside a creek, or the spiritual water you get from another person. All night, listen to the conversation. Stay up. This moment is all there is. Death will take it away soon enough. You'll be gone, and this earth will be left without a sweetheart. Nothing but weeds growing inside thorns. I'm through. Read the rest of this poem in the dark tonight. Do I have a head and feet? Shams, so loved by Tabrizians, I close my lips. I wait for you to come and open them. Two friends. A certain person came to the friend's door and knocked. "Who's there?" "It's me." The friend answered. "Go away. There's no place for raw meat at this table." The individual went wandering for a year. Nothing but the fire of separation can change hypocrisy and ego. The person returned completely cooked, walked up and down in front of the friend's house, gently knocked. "Who is it?" "You. Please come in, myself. There's no place in this house for two." The double end of the thread is not what goes through the eye of the needle. It's a single-pointed, fine-down thread end, not a big ego beast with baggage. But how can a camel be thinned to a thread? With the shears of practices, with doing things, and with help from the one who brings impossibilities to pass, who quiets willfulness, who gives sight to one blind from birth. Every day that one does something. Take that as your text. Every day God sends forth 3 powerful energies, one from the sperm of the father into the mother, so growth may begin. 2, a birth from the womb of the ground, so male and female may spring into existence. 3, there's a surge up from the surface into what is beyond dying, that the real beauty of creating can be recognized. There's no way to ever say this. Let's return to the 2 friends whose thread became single, who spell with their 2 letters the original word, B, E, be. B and E tighten around subjects and objects that one knot may hold them. 2 scissor blades make one cut, and watch 2 men washing clothes. One makes dry clothes wet, the other makes wet clothes dry. They seem to be thwarting each other, but their work is a perfect harmony. Every holy person seems to have a different doctrine and practice, but there's really only one work. Someone listening to a millstone falls asleep no matter. The stone keeps turning. Water from the mountain far above the mill keeps flowing down. The sleepers will get their bread. Underground it moves, without sound and without repetition. Show us where that source of speech is that has no alphabet, that spaciousness. Where we are now is a narrow fantasy that comes from there. The actual outside world is even narrower. Narrowness and pain, and the cause of narrowness is manyness. Creation was spoken with one sound, B-E. The 2 letters B and E to record it came after. The meaning of the sound and its resonance are one. There's no way to ever say this, so many words, and no place to stop saying it. Meanwhile, a lion and a wolf were fighting. The servant who loved his prayers at dawn, a certain rich man, wanted to go to the steam baths. He woke his servant, Sunkur. Ho, get moving. Get the basin and the towels and the clay for washing, and let's go to the baths. Sunkur immediately collected what was needed, and they set out side by side along the road. As they passed the mosque, the call to prayer sounded. Sunkur loved his 5 times prayer. Please, Master, rest on this bench for a while, that I may recite Surah 98, which begins, You who treat your slave with kindness. The Master sat on the bench outside while Sunkur went in. When prayers were over, and the priest and all the worshippers had left, still Sunka remained inside. The master waited and waited. Finally he yelled into the mosque, "Sunkar, why don't you come out?" "I can't. This clever one won't let me." "Have a little more patience. I hear you out there." 7 times the master waited, and then shouted. Sunkar's reply was always the same, "Not yet. He won't let me come out yet." "But there's no one in there but you. Everyone else has left. Who makes you sit still so long?" "The one who keeps me in here is the one who keeps you out there. The same who will not let you in will not let me out. The ocean will not allow its fish out of itself, nor does it let land animals in where the subtle and delicate fish move. The land creatures lumber along on the ground. No cleverness can change this. There's only one opener for the lock of these masters. Forget your figuring. Forget yourself. Listen to your friend. When you become totally obedient to that one, you'll be free."